Hello everyone. Today I'd like to address a topic around the pillar on the path and how practicing different perspective that doesn't go obviously in the same direction is crucial to structurize a mind in equilibrium, full of sanity, ready to uplift the world. So that's what we're gonna address today. Hope you will enjoy it for this inner and outer journey. I'm gonna take a personal experience here, and it is to address many pitfalls I can envision either on the psychotherapy field, either on practicing nonviolent communication, either on the spiritual path, because those different currents doesn't obviously work in the same direction. At least it appears to be, and I found it's nice to have some insight about that. So the first things I'm gonna address is the spiritual practice. In the field of spiritual path, what I call spiritual path is working with the mind, our connection and relationship to something transpersonal that goes beyond our personal self. And in the field of the spiritual path, so-called, there is different proposal and perspective. You have paths that are called progressive, which means to reach a certain level of realization, certain level of awakening, whatever this word means. You need actually to work on yourself and to step into a process of discipline and to put enough effort so that something is happening. You have progressive path, and you have what is called abrupt paths, raw paths, instant path. The field of non-duality, some current are addressing this, and the main point is that you are already what you're looking for, and the awakening is not something to pursue, something that is already there. So that's on the side of the spiritual practice, so-called. In this spiritual practice, so-called, we address working on the so-called ego. And the goal can be the dissolution of ego. I put Mark here because we need to address a paradox here. The ego cannot dissolve itself, so it cannot be a willpower action. It has to come with surrendering, because this posture of surrendering is echoing that the ego is surrendering, which is actually one pitfall and one insight. So on the spiritual path, we address this dissolution of the ego. On the psychological path, on the other side, in the psychotherapy field, we actually care for the ego. We restore the ego. We learn about the history of our childhood and genealogy of our lineage, where we're coming from. You can include even the history of the nations you're born in. And we care for this ego in this perspective. We are interested in it. We don't look specifically for dissolving it. The movement is to restore it. And in the nonviolent communication practice, to me, it's bonding, it's creating a bridge between this transpersonal aspect and the connection with the I. There is a relational space here. So the transpersonal, we connect to the transcendental aspect of life. The personal, psychotherapy field, get back on earth. If you want an image, it's not fully accurate, but connection to the sky, connection to the earth. So it's a vertical plan. And then in the nonviolent communication, horizontal plan, we relate to one another. Actually, deepening the practice of nonviolent communication is addressing definite intrinsic self-connection. So it has a huge, as well, spiritual tendency here, if it's addressed as such. So here we are. That's the foundation, that's the setting. We have the psychological aspect, the psychotherapy field, the spiritual aspect, spiritual practice, and the bond in between, which in this mapping I put a nonviolent communication practice. I'm gonna develop a bit those threefold perspective. I put a tip here. I name a tip. On my path, finding ways that are not addressing the same thing, obviously, that hasn't got the same perspective. Dissolution of the ego, restoring the ego, building bridges between the I and the us. For me, it brings a creative tension, because you need to discover for yourself what is your inner truth, and you cannot follow a specific recipe. On my side, I was following with commitment different perspective and tradition, and sometimes you can get schizophrenic at some point, but it is good in the sense that you need to see for yourself what works for you. You cannot digest, you cannot take something, literally, and following somebody else's speech. So you need to make it yours, and that's what happened to me, and I feel grateful about that, because in the end you enter into a creative process. So I strongly recommend, when you follow one path, not to follow just one, but with commitment, not to spread yourself, but having different perspective. So being at the same time committed and at the same time flexible on the mind level. So spring is about to come here, and actually spring is already coming. So this creative tension, which I found very useful to digest the path you are committed into and to make it yours, And the pitfall of a pure spiritual practice with the main aim of dissolution of the ego is that, and for me it's a big thing, because you won't hear that often actually, but you need to care first for the ego before dissolving anything. There's really nothing worse to want to dissolve something that is not fully healthy first and fully restored. And so that's why combining a spiritual path with a inner work, psychological work, is very meaningful in this perspective. So not trying to dissolve something that is not first fully built. You cannot let go about something that you don't own. That's a basic wisdom, actually. Unfortunately, it's not spread over that spiritual path, so-called. Sometimes the pitfall, actually, why there is this tendency of wanting to dissolve the ego and then creating more violence to oneself. Because at first, our woundings, the things that the traumatic experiences, the natural tendency of the mind is to reject it. It's to get rid of it. And this simple movement creates actually violence. It's violent. It's a movement of rejection. I could develop more about it, but any movement of violence are related to denial and rejection. And so wanting to dissolve the ego is the prolongation of this tendency, and it can be seductive. The truth is it never works, actually. It cannot work. Sooner or later the shit hit the fan, and he will enter in the back door if it was not addressed in the front door. This is what we call spiritual shortcut in the field, for people who are aware of it. And there's no such thing as spiritual shortcut. When you take a shortcut like this, there's a lot of chances that actually you end into creating more mess than you solve, actually. So, no spiritual shortcut. And so that's why infinite patience gives infinite results, because when I don't look for specific results, I can start to be present. I can start to offer a quality of presence that it in itself is providing healing. Healing is always coming from a full, authentic presence. So, in the field of psychotherapy, when it's well done, you always address things and you don't go over them. And it requires a huge, tremendous capacity to stay with. Normally, the therapist you're working with is supposed to embody this quality of presence and supporting you to develop it for yourself, piece by piece. And then, so that you can become autonomous. Beautiful word, autonomy. So, that's what is useful about psychotherapy. When it's well made, then it enables those capacities of compassion, welcoming, and love and empathy to develop. The shadow of it, when you have only psychotherapeutic work, is that you can stay stuck in all the drama and the history of the so-called ego. So it's the paradox here. You can strongly stay stuck with an identity that is based on past trauma, and it has become your self. And that's why there's so much grasping on it, because it's difficult to let go about something that is also who we are. So you need to create another identity, which I would call an awakened identity. And for that, the spiritual practice is required. It brings a balance, actually, in this matter. I don't know if you follow me fully, but here we are in the field of complex thinking. And by complex, I don't mean complicated. It's different. When you oversimplify things, you actually create more mess than you resolve as well. And in complex thinking, the idea is to widen the space to address the complexity of life. Complexity in the sense of biodiversity. So, in the psychotherapy field, we restore the ego and we care for it, which means the dissolution appears because there's love, compassion, welcoming. That's a healthy way to work on yourself. Love, compassion, and welcoming. And you need to develop those capacities of welcoming, compassion, empathy. Yeah, that's something that is always good to develop, actually. And so, to come closer to this word, spiritual practice, what I mean by that is basic silent sitting listening. No audio, no radio, no music, no CD player, confrontation with mere, pure, raw silence. Because the training is to develop some capacity of deep listening, and if you put always noises in the frequency, you cannot actually develop this capacity. So, spring is there, but not that much actually, huh? There's still kind of a lot of snow, and without having taken like some snowshoe, some racket, it's a bit like a pain in the ass. So I was saying, mere sitting, raw silence, developing this deep listening, the subtle level of consciousness, the subtle thoughts, you know. It's a self-knowledge path, actually. You know, starting to encounter what's going on inside. Who am I at the depth level? Aside from the noise of the world, who am I, you know? And it requires an intimate journey, an intimate space, and we don't need audio. If audio help you at first, use audio, acknowledging that actually it's the objective is clear, is to do it without. When you know how to ride a bicycle, you don't need the small wheel aside. It becomes dangerous. So that's the same spirit here. Be better than nothing, huh? The river enjoyed playing tricks with me. So that's for the silent sitting, mere silence, enjoying pure presence, and also pure neurosis, pure agitation of the mind, you know, and facing all this aliveness inside that is unaddressed and unacknowledged. Yeah. So that's for the first part of this video. It's a lot of data to digest, so I will carry on my walk and I will follow up this topic later on. If you have any question, any insights, any things you want to share, don't hesitate in the commentary. It will be lovely to hear about it. And also I have an announcement. I'd like to offer a space, some live session. I guess it will be on YouTube for demonstrating actually what I'm talking about in a pure individual accompaniment. So I gather the topic, the situations people want to work on. So send me some email. You have my email address on the link below. And tell me what you would like to work on. What's the things you are struggling with, and I will look at the different requests, and I will choose someone to be able to work on, and then we do that online, and you will see for yourself what I'm talking about. So don't hesitate to reach out. Any issue you want to move forward with, relationship, trauma from your past, existential crisis, spiritual question, quest, things that are inside your system, then having an opportunity to dive in together as a community as well, to address things that actually is not just at the individual level, but when we go in that level of intimacy, it's also addressing the intimacy of the collective. So care for yourself, and see you later on. And don't forget, if you like to subscribe to this channel, it helps. It's about motivation. And like the video if you had some insight about the different topic I was addressing today. Take care. Have fun.